Your testimony under oath to this committee is that everybody that ICE has picked up and any other agency of DHS has conformed to those statutes.
For example, Congressman,
No,
expedited
yes or no?
removal,
No, I don't need an
expedited
example.
removal is one of the
Madam
tools
Secretary,
that you have
I
given
got
us to
4
utilize
seconds.
as due process.
I just need a yes or no. Are you telling the committee that due process for anybody that's picked up in this country should not be followed?
Congressman, we have utilized due process as it is laid out in the tools that Congress has given us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The Department of Homeland Security has been the top target on the Donald Trump's revenge tour, and you, Madam Secretary, are the chief accomplice. The Trump administration is hell-bent on destroying the Department of Homeland Security, built through bipartisan collaboration over the past 2 decades and evading any accountability for its actions. Let's start with what the administration is doing to FEMA. Madam Secretary, you said that you want to get rid of FEMA, and the administration plan is to shirk its disaster response obligation and leave state and local governments to fend for themselves. Emergency managers across the country are sounding the alarm about the limited ability to respond when disasters strike, but their calls are falling on deaf ears from the White House. What is the administration's plan to respond to catastrophic disasters beyond shifting responsibilities to states and local communities who are already telling you they don't have the ability to respond?
Well, Congressman, President Trump has been very clear that he believes that FEMA should be eliminated as it exists today. He believes there's dramatic reforms that need to happen to the agency in order for it to truly serve people in a time of crisis. He wants to empower states and local governments to respond to their people. The federal government would be there for resources, support, much like block grants, but that we need to empower those locally to respond to their people because they know what they need. That is something that every state is at a different position today to respond, but he wants to give them the opportunity to build up the infrastructure to respond to their emergency.
Madam Secretary, do you have this plan in writing?
The White House is coming forward with the participation of the FEMA Review Council, which we have members from many states that are sitting on that will be making recommendations.
So what you're doing now, there's nothing in writing as a guidepost?
Well, sir, you certainly know that there are reform bills here in the House side and in the Senate side of how to address the failures of FEMA from the past.
No, but you're the secretary.
Those will be considered with the FEMA Review Council recommendations.
No, you're the secretary, and you say you're doing all these things. And I'm just asking you, do you have a written plan for what you're doing?
There is no formalized final plan for how this goes forward because the input of Congress is critically important. As you know, there are statutory requirements of the agency.
Well, I'm glad you recognize, Madam Secretary, I'm glad you recognize the statutory requirements. Washington State, Mississippi, and a couple other states already have requests in to you or to the president for disaster declaration, and it's taken an inordinate amount of time, more than normal. I just want to know, is that inordinate amount of time is based on some plan that you have knowledge of? But if it's not in writing, I understand. So you talked about the rule of law. Are you telling the committee that due process for anybody that's picked up in this country should not be followed?
Congressman, we have utilized due process as it is laid out in the tools that Congress has given us. We have followed the tools and the processes to which Congress has given us to give due process to people appropriately as it is due.
So your testimony to this committee under oath is that everybody that ICE has picked up in this country has been given every opportunity as Section 5 under the Constitution provides.
Correct. I believe everybody has gotten due process and every person has been treated appropriately according to the civil or the criminal action to which they were encountering individuals and brought into our detainment and then also removed from this country.
So your answer is yes.
The tools that you have given us as this
I'm
body
talking about the Constitution of the United States. I'm not talking about tools. The Constitution is clear.
Correct.
And your testimony under oath to this committee is that everybody that ICE has picked up and any other agency of DHS has conformed to those statutes.
For example, Congressman,
No,
expedited
yes or no?
removal.
No, I don't need an example.
Expedited removal is one of the
Madam
tools that
Secretary,
you have
I
given
got
us to
4
utilize
seconds.
as due process.
I just need a yes or no.
Sir, that is the due process tool that you have given us to utilize that has been appropriately.
So obviously.
Gentleman's time has expired.
Bennie Thompson's exchange with Kristi Noem is one of those rare political moments where calm persistence cuts deeper than any fiery outburst ever could. It's not the volume of his voice that lands the punch, it's the weight of the Constitution behind every question he asks. Thompson isn't merely debating policy, he's exposing a moral and constitutional crisis unfolding in plain sight. Let's take a closer look at what's really going on here, because this hearing isn't just about FEMA or DHS bureaucracy, it's about the steady dismantling of the very principles that define American governance: accountability, transparency, and due process. When Thompson starts by pointing to Donald Trump's so-called revenge tour, he's not being rhetorical. He's describing a pattern, an administration reshaping government agencies to serve political ends rather than the people they were created to protect. The Department of Homeland Security, an institution originally built through bipartisan cooperation after 9/11, has become a weapon of political enforcement under leaders more loyal to one man's grievances than to the nation's laws. So when Thompson questions Noem about FEMA, he's really asking something much deeper. What happens to the fabric of our democracy when government stops acting as the first responder for its citizens and instead leaves them to fend for themselves? FEMA was designed to be that national safety net, the agency that steps in when a hurricane destroys a town or when wildfires rip through communities. It was never meant to be fragmented or outsourced. Yet Noem's defense, that states should empower themselves, sounds like independence, but in practice, it's abandonment. States don't have the financial or logistical capacity to replace FEMA's national reach. When federal government retreats, it's not freedom that fills the void, it's vulnerability. And it's always the poorest and most marginalized who suffer first. Thompson understands this, that dismantling FEMA is more than administrative reform. It's a quiet act of neglect that will cost lives the next time disaster strikes. But perhaps the most crucial part of this exchange comes when Thompson pivots to due process, the bedrock of American justice. He's not just talking about policy here, he's defending one of the oldest promises of the Constitution, that every person, no matter who they are or where they come from, has the right to a fair process before being deprived of liberty. Thompson's question to Noem is both simple and devastating. Has everyone detained by DHS or ICE been given the due process guaranteed under the Constitution? It's a yes or no question, and yet Noem can't answer it directly. Instead, she hides behind bureaucratic language, tools, processes, expedited removal. But these terms mask a grim truth. Expedited removal means people can be detained and deported without ever seeing a judge, without a lawyer, and sometimes without even understanding what's happening to them. It's a process that sacrifices fairness for speed, and in the process, it abandons justice itself. What Thompson is pressing her to admit, and what she's struggling to avoid saying, is that the government has been using shortcuts to bypass the Constitution. That's not just a technical issue, it's a betrayal of the most sacred American principles. The Constitution doesn't say due process when convenient. It doesn't grant rights only to citizens or those who look like us or agree with us politically. It's universal, and Thompson's questions remind us of that truth. What makes this exchange so important isn't just the clash between a seasoned legislator and a political appointee, it's what it reveals about the moment we're living in. We are witnessing in real time a test of how resilient our democratic values really are. When leaders start defining due process as whatever suits their agenda, they chip away at the rule of law itself. When the government decides who deserves rights based on ideology or status, it's not democracy anymore. It's selective justice, and selective justice is no justice at all. Thompson's calm insistence, his refusal to be brushed aside, speaks volumes about what accountability looks like in practice. Oversight hearings like this are not political theater. They are one of the few remaining tools the people have to demand transparency from those who wield power. Every time Thompson pushes for a clear answer, he's standing up not just for legal process, but for human dignity, for the principle that no one, not even the government, is above the Constitution. The way Noem evades direct accountability, the way she replaces constitutional clarity with bureaucratic jargon, should alarm every American. Because once due process becomes negotiable, everything else can be too. That's why this moment matters. It's not about partisanship, it's about preservation. The preservation of a system that protects all of us from the whims of authority. This is the heart of Thompson's exchange, the fight to keep our democracy rooted in principle rather than personality. It's a reminder that the Constitution is not self-executing. It lives and breathes only when people in power are held to it, line by line, oath by oath. If there's one takeaway from this hearing, it's this: democracy doesn't erode overnight. It fades slowly, through excuses, through silence, through leaders who redefine justice until it serves them instead of the people. And it only survives when people like Bennie Thompson stand firm and demand that those in authority answer the hard questions, even when the answers are uncomfortable. So, the next time you see a hearing like this, don't dismiss it as political noise. It's democracy in action. Messy, imperfect, but necessary. Because accountability isn't about scoring points, it's about making sure that no one, not even the Secretary of Homeland Security, can rewrite the Constitution to fit their politics. If you believe in that, if you believe in truth, fairness, and the rule of law, make your voice heard. Share this, discuss it, and stay engaged. Democracy is not defended in moments of comfort, but in moments exactly like this one, when power is challenged and the truth is demanded.